Good evening. My name is Thomas Lopez-Pierre, and I am the president and CEO of Black Lives Matter Real Estate Forum, LLC, and the fund manager of BREF Fund I, LLC. This evening, we're having a panel discussion with a group of distinguished securities professionals, lawyers, and technical service providers to discuss the best practices of launching a Reg A plus offering for $75 million. Black Lives Matter Real Estate Fund is a private equity social impact real estate fund that raises capital exclusively from Black and Hispanic investors and deploys that capital exclusively with Black and Hispanic real estate developers for the purpose of building wealth and creating jobs in the Black and Hispanic community. This evening, we are joined by my co-moderator is Askari Foy. Say hello, Askari. Like wave.
Good evening.
Yeah, Askari Foy is an MBA, CPA, former Securities and Exchange senior official, and he is a partner at a private equity real estate fund that invests in the Northeast and the South of the United States. And then for our technical expertise, we have there's a part A and part B to tonight's panel discussion. So we're going to school and going to church. So for school, knowledge is going to be bestowed by three distinguished experts with regard to crowdfunding and securities law. Andrew Stephenson, who is Chief Product Officer at CrowdCheck and partner with CrowdCheck Law LLP. Nikki, Gilbreth, Director of New Business, North Capital Investment Technology Incorporated, and Ron Smukoff, I apologize, Ron, if I butchered your name, Vice President of Computer Share. And I welcome everyone to tonight's panel discussion. Before we start, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Matthew, could you put up the image, please? So we just want people to know that individual panelists, their views about anything are their views, and please do not email other people on the panel about something that you disagreed with, something that somebody else said. Thank you very much for that. And also, if you're not supposed to be investing in these securities, we are not looking for you to take money from you. And so we have the disclaimer about we don't sell and solicit any securities for people that are not supposed to be getting it. Okay, you can take it off now, Matthew. And let's start. All right, let's shoot with Andrew. Andrew, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're the lawyer here, so we want to launch a Reg A plus offering to raise up to $75 million. And to get there, our plan is to first, we're doing a Reg D to invest in a number of real estate projects. That plan is to use the Reg D to raise up to $1 million this year, use that for 2 years to give us a track record of delivering excellent returns to investors, and then launch a Reg CF for up to $1 million or $5 million, depending on which one we decide, to give us the startup capital to launch then the Reg A offering. So we're doing it almost like a step ladder. So what I would like for you to do is give some context to terms of securities law with regard to Reg Ds, Reg A plus, Reg CF, and talk about why a company like yours is so important in terms of executing one's mini public offering with best practices.
Certainly, yeah. So a lot of what we're discussing came about as a result of sort of the Jobs Act of 2012, which created these additional levels of additional types of securities offerings in order to reach investors in different ways as a sort of stepping stones without yet undertaking something as significant as an IPO. Under U.S. securities laws, any offer or sale of securities needs to be registered or exempt. And so the most known types of registered offerings are IPOs. So when a company is is big, and they're going big. So they're going out onto a securities exchange and they're raising lots of money. But for most companies, that's in the cards. It's not what's going to sort of drive the mission. It's not what and it's not and they're not yet ready to be, or they're not yet ready to be at that level. And so that's where these different types of exemptions are available. So Reg D is a way of with limited disclosure, bringing in new money from accredited investors only. That allow and so that it's a very light lift as far as on the legal and compliance. The company's still going to be obligated to make sure it's keeping its records and being accurate in the information being presented to investors. But it's a sort of light lift to bring in those initial investors. Reg CF starts going a little bit different. So as regulation crowdfunding is the newest type of exemption. It allows for companies to raise from any investor. There are specific disclosure requirements, so specific things that the company will need to talk about in the materials it's putting out to investors. There's specific requirements in regards to what financial statements are being presented as well, and whether those financial statements have been reviewed or audited by an independent accountant. That type of offering also needs to be made through a registered broker dealer or registered funding portal. So there's going to be an intermediary involved in the offering. And the idea there is that the company will be able to put its information out there, put out all the disclosures, and get to and then allow investors to just see that information and sort of decide if they want to invest based on their own risk profile, what they think, and with Reg CF, they can also even communicate with other prospective investors. There's every Reg CF offering page has to have a communication channels, like a message board, in which investors can communicate with each other, they can communicate with the company, all as a way to determining if this is the investment that they want to make, and to make sure that they have all the information needed for an informed investment decision. Regulation A is sort of the next level up. And it is very close to being a full registered offering, but it is a lower level of disclosure that's required on the part of companies. The trade-off for that is that the offering is capped at $75 million every 12 months. So the companies can raise up to that amount to advance from public investors. You do not have to be accredited. It can be from any and all investors. And the idea is to bring in those funds to make it and to start advancing the business of the company. There are ongoing reporting requirements that come along with Regulation A. So the initial disclosure includes audited financial statements along with those disclosures. And then there's going to be an annual report that happens as well that requires audited financial statements, along with a semi-annual report that will include management certified interim financial statements. Those statements always need to be prepared in accordance with sort of generally accepted accounting principles, so they're easily comparable across industry and to other companies to evaluate those performance metrics. Regulation A offering does go through a process of review by securities regulators at the federal level, so the Securities and Exchange Commission, who will review the disclosures, and will evaluate for the completeness and whether or not they believe there are any sort of open items that need to be resolved before the offering can go forward to start receiving investor funds. So that's kind of a sort of high level overview of those three types of exemptions and how companies can use them to begin raising funds from investors.
Okay, great. So let's first, whoever has, please mute. Andrew, we're going to stay with you for a moment. So I guess the foundation of this whole securities law, at least in today, the haves and the have-nots, is basically a term called accredited investor and unaccredited investor or non-accredited investor. And could you please define those two terms, because everything basically derives, I think, not a securities expert, but derives from those two concepts.
So on the Reg D side, there is the concept of accredited investor is very important. So regulation, as I mentioned, Regulation D is a kind of offering that does not have any specific disclosure requirements by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And the reason for the rationale there is that if companies are only limited to selling to people who have also high net worth individuals, so who have over $1 million in net worth, excluding a primary residence, or annual income of over $200,000 for successive years, or $300,000 with their spouse for successive years, then if they're only limiting their sales to those individuals who are able to bear the risk, the full risk of loss of the investment, then no disclosures will be required. But how that's in practice, it ends up being that most companies, because there's no disclosure requirements for Reg D, that's a default. That's a way that they go to start fundraising and sort of kind of beyond in order to and when they're making offerings available on the ground floor to investors, they're limiting those sales to accredited only, and so it means that those opportunities are not available to non-accredited investors who do not have net worth or income at those levels.
Right, I want to pause you there. So for my audience, the reason why what he just said is so important for the Black community is because just in terms of inequality in America, forget about race for a minute, only 5% of Americans earn $100,000 or more. So if one is an accredited investor at $200,000 in successive years in income, and if only 5% of Americans earn over $100,000, we're really talking about a small pool of individuals that could participate in private equity deals. The second thing is that then when you throw in a layer of race, and then you have where white Americans have 10 times more wealth than Black Americans. There's a whole bunch of reports online about this number. And so we find that if you're a private equity fund like us that exclusively accepts investment capital from people that are Black and Hispanic, we're really talking about a really, really small amount of people. And so that's why a Reg CF and a Reg A+ are really game changers for the Black community, because now we get to raise money in an environment that is more friendly to communities of color in America. So that's why I thought it was very important. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, Andrew, is I come to you and I say, okay, I'm ready to go. I think I'm the man or the woman, and I'm ready to do this. I want to launch a Reg A. I want to do a Reg D. So Reg D, my understanding, is between $10,000 to $20,000. A lawyer puts together a private placement memorandum, you register with the SEC, and you're good to go, right?
Well, actually, for Reg D, you don't even need a private placement memorandum. That's sort of standard practice is to do that, because even though there's no disclosure requirements from the SEC, there's still you still have to put forward such documentation to investors that will make them feel that they are comfortable making that investment. But it can be done if it means that you can present that information just in a slide deck form or in other sorts of summary materials. There's no specific disclosure requirement. So it's just really about what investors want to see. And so for a real estate investment, it's going to be what are the deal terms for the acquisition? What are the comparables? What's going on in so kind of real estate markets generally, and then kind of your history of managing properties and entities. That's probably going to be enough. So it doesn't necessarily need a full PPM. And then when it comes to filings with the SEC, for Reg D, the only filing that's required is a Form D notice filing made within 15 days of the sale. So there's no filings made with regulators until after the close of the investment. Okay.
Now, so I come to you and I want to do a Reg CF. How much will it cost me?
So Reg CF, we do fixed price packages. I think it's $7,000 for a standard package for Reg CF. But there's a lot of information we'd want about the company. We want it. see your reviewed or audited financial statements. We'd want to know what intermediary you're working with, and sort of details of the business and the people behind it, in order to be able to prepare the Form C disclosure document. And so we would not be the only participant in the offering, as an intermediary is necessary, as well as an accountant, in order to take advantage of that exemption.
Okay, so we've hired you to do our Reg CF. We've made a decision not to, you have to choose between a portal or a broker dealer. And so the broker dealer is going to charge you, and the fees out there, I guess, are between $10,000 and $20,000 to hire a broker dealer if you want to use a white label. And then we're going to get to our other panelists. But so there's your fee, there's the broker dealer fee. Then you have to have, if you're raising up to $1 million, they have to be unaudited financials, right? And if you're going over $1 million, it's audited.
Correct. Yeah. So between so going up to 1 million, the financials need to be reviewed by an independent accountant. But if you're going above 1 million, they'll need to be audited by an independent accountant.
Okay. And then just touching on Reg A real quick, then we did the Reg CF. So let's say we want to do a Reg A plus now. Give me the cost associated with launching a Reg A plus.
Our legal fee is, we have sort of fixed fee package of $60,000. But again, you'll also be looking at accounting fees, intermediary fees for the broker dealer, and then also something to think about, even in the Reg CF context, as well as marketing fees.
Right.
I'll say so. All in between the different types of professional service providers and marketing for an offering, you can sort of expect to spend anywhere between $100,000 to $150,000.
Right, that's where I wanted to get to. So even without the marketing, you're spending $60,000 for legal, you're spending about $15,000 for the broker dealer, you're spending about $10,000 for the audited financials, you're spending, then you need on the technical side, and that's when we're going to get to Nikki next. Who did I forget? So there's the lawyer, the accountant, the broker dealer. So I guess the next step is the tech side, the person that's going to help us with putting up the website. And then marketing, without marketing, it's like printing a document and sticking in a file cabinet. If you don't spend the marketing dollars, no one will know you exist. And so marketing is critical. So, all right, so let's go to Nikki. How are you doing?
Doing good, Thomas, how are you?
Thank you for joining us. So you've heard, we've decided to move on doing both a Reg CF and a Reg A plus. Talk to me about what your company does and why you really can't move forward without you.
Yeah, so as Thomas mentioned, I'm a director of business development here with North Capital, and North Capital has actually been a broker dealer in this industry since 2011. And we launched North Capital Investment Technology back in 2014 with compliance in mind and with the automation that was necessary for helping automate the investment process when you're collecting the data from accredited investors or non-accredited investors via a website or a platform. And so all of our services are built around supporting Reg A plus, Reg CF, as well as the Reg D exemption types that Andrew mentioned. So with all of that being said, we work with multiple platforms to provide the technology services, and over 30% of registered funding portals actually currently use us through technology and escrow services because they're required to identify a qualified third party as their escrow agent. So when you choose to work with a funding portal, you're essentially using whatever technology and escrow provider they've already integrated with and identified, and kind of same thing with a broker dealer. With a Reg A plus, since you're the issuer and you're more in control, we have a lot of clients that work with us directly. We have a RESTful API that clients can plug into directly for the backend functionality, but maintain full control over the user interface and what that flow looks like. For clients that aren't familiar with APIs or don't have a development team, we do have a direct invest button that is already pre-built out, and you just plug in your color, your branding, and your information to match your website, whether it's the issuer's or the platform's website, to automate the process without having to fully build it out. And there's just different features that turn on or off depending which exemption type you use, that we can help kind of guide you through that process. And of course, CrowdCheck or your securities counsel is a valuable asset throughout that process. And our technology, what it does is it actually allows us to provide payment processing, because we became a custodial broker-dealer in 2016. So we were able to bring escrow services in-house and add payment processing to our technology stack for ACH as well as credit card transactions. For ACH transactions, we were able to verify the bank account information through a Plata integration and initiate the payment from the investor's bank account directly into the escrow account. And same thing with the credit cards. We can charge the credit cards and deposit the funds into escrow. And we have a 3 to 5 business day settlement period, because it's going directly from the bank account into the escrow account. There's no third party in between. That also streamlines the process for any events where you have an investor request a return or you have an unsuccessful offering. Our escrow operations team handles all of the automation and a very seamless process to return funds to the investors in the appropriate time period. So we really handle all of those pieces. And another kind of piece that people are looking for when they're looking for payment processing and these types of transactions is also the know your customer and anti-money laundering checks. And so those are also automated through our technology solutions, just depending how clients choose to integrate with us and which services are the best fit based on their business model.
Very good. So let me ask you, can I launch a Reg CF without you? Do I need an escrow? Do I need technology?
Yes. So registered funding portals can't exist without us. And you can't do an offering without a registered funding portal or a broker dealer. And either of them both need a technology and escrow agent, because you actually can't even be approved to become a registered funding portal without identifying a qualified third party as your escrow agent.
So before we get to Ron, I want to have you guys answer this question, because I think it's really so important. We have 3 service providers here, and there's clearly more. If you're going to launch a Reg CF or A plus, there's going to be significantly more service providers involved. I would like, starting with Andrew, I would like for you all 3 to tell me in your own words how critical, how important it is to have service providers that can work together and eliminate the drama and the miscommunications in putting forth a client's offering. How important is that to the process?
Well, I think it's very important. Probably, but it's kind of, they come in sort of different sort of points in time as well. I think it's on sort of upfront in preparation, especially on the Regulation A side, it's very important to have good sort of collaboration between the sort of legal provider and the accounting provider and the auditor. Because those are because working together, those are what's going to drive the disclosure that's being prepared and put out to prospective investors. Then on the back end is when you have providers, sort of like Nikki and Ron, who with the technology, so Nikki said, with the technology to process those payments coming in, to process investors, and making sure that you have accurate records of those investors, who they are, and how much they've invested. That allows you to move into better process that information in order to keep clear records of that ownership that's going to be held through a transfer agent like Computer Share.
So, all right, Nikki, your thoughts?
I would absolutely agree with Andrew, especially in our collaboration. We work very closely with certain broker dealers and other providers in the space, because if I know which provider you're working with, then I know their systems, I know who they also work with, and we just know each other's systems already, where if I know someone's working with CrowdCheck, I don't have to be concerned on if they have a securities counsel that's familiar with the industry and familiar with the providers in the space. And same thing with computer share, we're working with transfer agents. We built our system so it's fairly agnostic, but working with providers that work well together, it makes it so they already know our system. So you exporting the data from our system and inputting it into their system, someone else has already gone through that process. They're familiar with the information that's collected. And that also just makes it a more seamless process when the providers understand and have an awareness of each other's processes.
Very good. And Ron, your thoughts? And then we're going to we'll work with you, Ron.
Yeah, to echo Andrew and Nikki, critically important. When you think about this process, it's a day one, it's a day two, it's a day three, it's a day 365. There's a continuum of activities that take place. From a transfer agency perspective, it's critically important that we're able to link in with a subscription portal, a broker dealer, to get the information accurately over to us, which is ultimately where it's going to reside. Just, not to steal thunder from myself, but, a transfer agent is a shareholder record keeper where the holders can come to view their positions. And, if there's any distributions that take place in future times, whether they be dividends or other types of payouts, we manage those. But, companies evolve along the continuum to be a more mature company, whether they stay private or stay public. And a lot of those shareholder record keeping needs grow down the pike, which I'll get to. But in terms of working well together, familiarity, making the process go smoothly, it's critically important.
Perfect. So two things. One is Matthew, could you put the LinkedIn profiles of our panelists on the chat so that people can reach out to them on LinkedIn? So Ron, we hire this brilliant lawyer, Andrew, to execute our offering. We have best-in-class technology in terms of accepting the money from investors, and we have all this money coming in, and we just think that we're just on top. And then somebody says, a year later, it's time for us to pay out distributions, and people are looking through their Excel sheet and they're like, wait, somebody came in the 9th month, they came in the 10th month, they came in the 6th month. Wait, what kind of, are they class A, are they class B shares? What's the prof ref, and so what happens is the entrepreneur gets tripped up on that. And now, God forbid, if he makes out a payment based on wrong information, he's got to recoup money to get it right. And so take this opportunity to show, to tell us why it's so important to have a transfer agent from the beginning working with your other partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. This is a process that needs to be done properly. Who you partner with as an organization also speaks to how seriously you take your business and how you treat your investors, and ultimately those are the folks that own your company. Transfer agents, for those who don't know, are Securities and Exchange Commission regulated entities that provide investor record keeping and communications for public and private companies. So, when you do a Reg A plus, the SEC requires you to have a registered transfer agent be your record keeper. For those folks, just to, investing 101, there's really two places that folks keep records of their holdings, either with a broker, and that's typically for public companies, and private companies, or they keep a registered position at a transfer agent. So ComputerShare manages transfer agency record keeping for over 6,000 companies, a third of which are private. So, you know, the IBMs and the Microsofts of the world do business with us, but so do smaller companies who've done Reg CF offerings, Reg D offerings, Reg A plus offerings. And it's critically important that those records are kept accurately. To Thomas's point, when your purchase took place, what level you came in. If there's any kind of distribution, we'll help do a calculation and we'll pay that distribution out. So those are important tasks that are sort of second day, third day when we talk about this particular offering, but important to the whole process.
I'm going to go back to Nikki in a minute, but first, Ron, I wanted to ask you so, you're now our transfer agent. Talk to me about the cost. What, to raise a, $5 million, what would it, cost? Let's say 5 million at, 10,000 in minimum investment. So, what's the cost per investor?
Typically it's based on the number of shareholders. So, not knowing what that shareholder number would be out of the gate, we give headroom in sort of a first tier, if you will. But, I don't think you're going to have 10,000 investors or 5,000 investors, in the near term.
No. I was talking to God yesterday, so I have hope.
Okay. Well, in any event, it's tiered. So you can use 10,000 a year as a ballpark in terms of the shareholder record keeping, and that would be up to probably 1,000 investors, and scales slightly when you.
No, we'll go with your modest number of, let's say, 250 to 500.
Yep. Yeah, so that you can use $10,000 a year as the spot, the line in the sand, and it's not something you need day one either. It's something that once we start to establish that you have investors and the records need to come over, when the initial closing takes place, that's when you'd need to activate our capabilities and start the clock on needing to pay us.
Okay, we're going to go to Nikki, and then if you have any questions, please put them, raise your hand thing and put up questions. Nikki, how much does it cost to use your service?
Yeah, and I mean, part of that depends on if you do the API versus the invest button. The invest button is structured to be very cost effective for clients that are just doing one offering, which is a $500 setup fee and $500 a month licensing. We structure our fees that way so that we can keep the pass-through fees as low as possible, which is 47 cents for KYC AML, and then 10 basis points, which is 0.1% of the transaction for ACH.
What is KYC and ACH?
Sorry, the Know Your Customer and Anti-Money Laundering check that is automated through the system. And what that is the Know Your Customer is verifying that the person is who they say they are. They're a real person and not just an alias. It confirms who they are by cross-referencing multiple databases. They're US-based databases. And then from the AML is actually kind of a reverse check where it's just making sure that they're not a 90% or more match of someone on a known watch list, such as an OFAC list or other known money launderer lists and databases. So if there was a Nikki Gilbreth, for example, that's a known money launderer, I would fail the check because my name's close enough to it. But in those instances, typically I would provide my photo ID, and the portal or us at North Capital can look at the photo ID and verify it's not an exact match for the person on the watch list and clear that AML.
Very good, very good. Okay, we're going to be, let me see if there's any questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up with part. Okay. Matthew, did I get this correct? Is other than those two comments, we have no other questions?
That's correct.
Everybody, this is Matthew Scott. He handles our communications, former journalist, editor with Black Enterprise, Cranes, Financial Times. His job is to keep me from saying things that putting my foot in my mouth. And he does a great job at it. Let's see, we have.
If anybody wants to ask questions, just put it in the Q&A and we'll get to them in the next few minutes.
Okay, question, how do you handle international investors, non-US? So whoever wants to jump in for that. Andrew, Nikki?
I can jump in and then I'll pass it over to Andrew from more of a jurisdiction standpoint. With non-US investors, that's where there are going to be some limitations from a technology standpoint because ACH, our system is built off of what we call the NACHA system, which is a US-based banking system. So we can't initiate payments from an ACH standpoint for international investors unless they have a US-based bank account, then they can fund it that way. Otherwise, they can send funds via wire or check, or you use a credit card if the transaction's below 5,000. From a KYC standpoint, because I know I mentioned that that was based on US databases, normally you'll verify their identity by having them submit a photo ID, and that's just you verifying that it's a valid photo ID. Most of my clients and us internally will require it to be a passport because that's just one of the most reliable documents and forms of photo ID universally for international investors. But from a jurisdiction standpoint, I'll hand it over to Andrew.
Yeah, and so Regulation D, Regulation Crowdfunding, Regulation A are all rules that are created by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. And so these are rules that allow for allow for companies to sell securities to U.S. investors, and so that's so just by complying with one of those sets of rules, that doesn't necessarily mean that the company is complying with the rules necessary in order to sell to investors in a non-U.S. jurisdiction. There's typically going to be some sort of on the accredited investor side. There's typically some sort of analogy in most countries have. So sales can typically be made to high net worth individuals without registration. But when you get to Regulation Crowdfunding, Regulation A, things do get a bit more restricted. In particular, the Canadian provinces require separate registration in order to sell from the U.S. into to Canadian-based investors, and then so that's one that we see regularly. They are active. The Canadian regulators will assess. They do regularly monitor the market, and we've seen them force companies to rescind transactions. So it's So it depends. Yeah. So in the end, there has to be sort of separate compliance with the rules of that jurisdiction.
Very good. And before I get to last words from our panelists, and then we go to part B, Askari, you there?
Yes, I'm here, Thomas.
So the joke that I talk about with Askari is that Askari, when he worked at the Securities and Exchange Commission, he didn't do customer service. Like his job wasn't, raise money and, this is how welcome to the agency. Thank you for considering, becoming a part of capitalism. No, Askari was what's the polite word? He was an enforcer. His job was to cut off heads. If your file was on his desk, he was basically trying to determine if he was going to refer you to the federal prosecutor's office for indictment. So Askari, obviously you're no longer with the SEC. Could you just talk about the importance of being in compliance with the SEC? You there? Did I lose him? 1 second. Askari.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you bring it up.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So
repeat the question.
No, I was saying that, when you worked at the SEC, you didn't do customer service. You wasn't the guy with the smile on the face, like Walmart, happy, welcome, welcome. You were, an enforcer. You were, a headhunter, and your job, if the file was on your desk, you were referring them. You were trying to determine if you were going to refer them to, the federal prosecutor's office. So if you could just share your thoughts on how important it is to be in compliance with the SEC in terms of engaging in capital raising.
Yes, Thomas, thanks. So I was providing some customer service. The goal was to really protect investors, right? But really my main job too was really to put some of the bad guys away, for which, there was a lot of that being done. But on the serious side, on the compliance side, I think, Thomas, what you're doing here, having Andrew, having Nikki, having Ron, and just understand the synergy that those individuals have is the first step, right? I think also there's obviously rules and exemptions and all that you got to comply with. And you got to be informative, Thomas, that you do have an operational sense in-house, that it's about governance, it's about structure, it's about doing the right thing and make sure that we're doing things the right way to comply and have all documentation handy, maintained to show the flow of money, to show the transactions that have been incurred. But most importantly, you have been very informative, disclosing a lot of information to prospects and potential investors, and even the current investors that you currently have, right? So those are some key things that you are doing that I was quite impressed with. That's why I was really happy to come on board and be one of your developers, right? So having compliance as a number one priority is a big money maker for me, because if investors know that compliance is one of your first priorities, yeah, they'll be more apt to build that trust, build that energy, and really have an opportunity to invest with you. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. So if our three technical panelists, could they spend 30 seconds to share their last thoughts, and then we will move on to the next phase of our panel discussion. Andrew, we're going to start with Ron, because Ron was last. Ron, go ahead, say your 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I echo Askari. I mean, it's really important to surround yourself with folks that have experience, that work well together, that do this right, keep you in compliance. I've gotten to know Thomas a little bit over the last year and a half, and certainly believe in what it is he's trying to do. But aside from the business itself, I think his approach to doing this right with the right partners eliminates a lot of the downstream risk of being in business with him. So, putting his business to the side, his approach is really rock solid. And when you're partnering with folks who this isn't their first rodeo, they understand the complexities of the regulatory environment and can keep solid records. You've clicked off the first part of the box of doing this the right way. So kudos to Thomas.
Go ahead, Nikki.
And I definitely echo what Ron was saying, because I know I've been speaking with Thomas for over a year now, as well as he's vetted multiple partners and providers in the space and definitely done his research. And you can tell when you speak with a client that's actually looking for good providers, and they're fine with paying a higher dollar amount if they're actually working with people that know what they're doing. And I think that can be said for all the providers on this call, because we've worked with everyone on this call a lot and had a lot of joint clients. And North Capital, I'd say this is what our target market is the alternative space. And we're actively growing and establishing more partnerships there. And the more you're in the space, the more you hear certain providers' names repeated and you see them on filings publicly. And that really kind of speaks to the credibility.
Okay. Andrew.
Last thing, there's no free money over the internet, and that goes for both ways. So from the company selling securities, that there are real steps that have to be done in order to compliantly bring an offering forward to prospective investors. Then on the investor side, you have look for those offerings that are sort of being done with with trusted stakeholders, because if there's just promises of crazy returns without any support to it, then that's a big red flag.
Well, I want to thank you, Andrew, Nikki, Ron. I want to thank you both, for all three of you, for your time. That ends class today for our Reg CF and Reg A+. Now we're going to church, ladies and gentlemen, so we can begin the gospel of Black economic empowerment.
Thomas?
Yes.
I think we have one additional question. They just put it in the chat though.
Sure, that's why I have you, so you can jump right in. What is it?
The person is asking, how do opportunity zones complement these processes? I don't know if anyone can handle that, but that's the question.
Yeah, I have an opinion on it, but I'll let my three panelists go.
Well, I'll take a stab. I think opportunity zones are typically going to be more about sort of tax preferences and benefits that you would see on potential returns and the operating of a property after it's been acquired, following a securities offering. So it doesn't necessarily relate to securities offering itself, except in regards to what's been disclosed to investors, and has the company done everything it needs to do in order to take advantage of those of the benefits that come with being in an opportunity zone.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, Andrew, Ron, Nikki. Let's begin. Can I get the church to say amen, please? And is Derek, are you here?
He fell off the call, fortunately.
Do me a favor, give him a call. Give him, you have his number, right? Tell him to jump back on.
All right, I'll try to do.
Okay, and let's go to Askari. So,
Yes.
Askari, do me a favor. Tell tell people about your company.
Yeah, so my company is Venture Alliance Real Estate Enterprise. It's a real estate private equity development firm, and we invest in real estate properties from residential to commercial. We partner with investors to give them a good, solid experience in real estate to provide them with attractive returns. We have opportunities in Boston, New York, Baltimore, Atlanta, and we try to have a good, solid pipeline from acquisition to construction to sale. So at any one given time or moment, we have inventory in each of those particular phases. But the main goal is to provide opportunities for investors and partnering with the BLM fund to really provide opportunities in real estate.
Right. And so here's the gospel. So Black Lives Matter Real Estate Forum was established a couple, maybe like less than 2 weeks after George Floyd was killed. It is our contention that it's amazing. One of the things that Black people have in common with each other that have been murdered by the police is that they have a very long relationship with the criminal justice system. And if you look at a lot of the men, overwhelmingly Black men, that have been killed through their interaction with the police, they have criminal justice relationships. And what we believe is that if you provide economic opportunity, could somebody mute? Matthew, is that you? Could you mute yourself, please? There's some noise.
I am muted.
Like, then could you? If if you provide economic opportunity for a community, then there is a less likely to engage in criminal activities. They're not going to go rob a liquor store if they have a good paying job. You know, in New York City, 52% of the city's population is Black and Hispanic. But the city jail is 90% Black and Hispanic. So either, you know, in the city of New York, white folks are some of the most honest, wholesome, God-fearing people one would want to meet, and Black people just, you know, it's their DNA. They just have to engage in criminal activity. Or I'm going to go with door number 2, which is white supremacy and economic inequality. And so what we need to do is do what other groups have done, what our Asian friends, our Arab friends, our Indian friends have done. They have organized their communities around a capitalistic economic empowerment model. They've built wealth and created jobs for their community. There are no, you know, like I said, 90% of inmates in New York City jail are Black and Hispanic. Like those other groups are not represented in the city criminal justice system. And so if we want to have that same outcome for our community, we need Black professionals that are going to come together and invest with each other, not through charity, you know, but, you know, white folks do not own the commercial real estate in Black neighborhoods because they love us. They're invested because they're getting wealth off investing in our communities. And we should learn from that example. Instead of being critical or mad at them, I say, let's follow that lead and pool Black and Hispanic capital and invest with developers like Askari. Askari, let me ask you, we recently invested $100,000 with you in a project in Massachusetts. Matthew, could you put up the video of the Massachusetts project, please?
Give me 1 second.
Sure. Okay, play that video, please.
There's no sound, Thomas.
Matthew, the sound. All right, do me a favor, just speed it up to where we walk into the house. And while that is happening, Askari, describe this project.
Yes. So this project is located in Pembroke, Massachusetts. It's a lakefront property, private beach. And what we're doing with this property, we got into it for about $300,000. We have about a budget about 150 or so. But mainly what we're doing, our main objective here is to enhance the square footage. So initially it's a 3-1, it was a 3-1 project. Now we're going to convert it into a 4-bedroom, 2.5, creating some space, adding a bathroom, adding a bedroom, using an open floor concept. And basically at the end of the day, we really trying to add value in that area and give it a different modern look. and basically try to get the best value for the buck in the market. And what we're doing is supported by the market, and we feel like we can get, top dollars above, market for when the project is done, basically.
Perfect. And we invested $100,000 in this project, and we think it's a great opportunity. Talk to me about the reason, or you can exit out of this video now, Matthew. So, Askari represents tens of thousands of Black real estate professionals throughout America that are in need of investment capital and have projects in our communities. The thing I like about Askari's operation is that he has a project under acquisition, a project under development, and a project for sale. And where he wants to go is to have 10 projects under acquisition, 10 projects under development, and 10 projects for sale. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And so how ramp up in terms of making that transition? How important is capital to being able to do that?
Repeat the question. You went out for a second there, Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah, somebody called me, and I'm on a panel, and I don't know why they're calling me. Could you tell me, how important in equity capital is to your ability to ramp up, to expand, to scale up your operations?
Yeah, Thomas, it's really about the purpose, right? So just throughout the journey of raising capital or having opportunity to access capital, whether it's loans or equity capital, it just has been a challenge for Black developers just because of the imbalance of the system. So basically having a direct opportunity to have consistent capital from, a minority firm, but most importantly here is on the way down, we're creating jobs, right? We're fighting against crime, and we're targeting areas of opportunity for minorities, right? Our general contractors are minorities. We're investing in our minority communities, and we're just building a network downstream. But the benefit here, Thomas, is we reinvest in our communities. There's money to be made in our communities, and that money comes right back up through the system, back up to your fund. Because if we're teaching generational wealth, the general contractors are making money, their teams are making money, but for them to create generational wealth, they got to find a place to reinvest, and it comes right back into the system that you're trying to build, right? So having that direct access and the volume really creates and expound upon just not only 1, 5, 10 homes, but even much more.
And on, give me, there are a number of people on this call that are not real estate professionals, or if they are, they're not development professionals. Talk to me about the jobs that are created when you renovate this house.
Yeah, so the jobs that we create, we provide opportunities for.
Wait, hold on a second, Askari. Matthew, why can we hear somebody else on this call? Can you mute everybody for me, please?
Yeah, Derek just joined back again, so came in with a little bit.
Okay. Hey, Derek, we're gonna have you come on next after Askari. So go ahead, Askari.
Yeah, so we create opportunities for individuals in those communities who may not have the opportunity to be their own general contractor in an area for housing. We have architects, we have engineers, right? And we have our day laborers, right? So even our attorneys are minorities, but at the end of the day, when there's a network and people can feel the experience that there's opportunities for minorities to get jobs in this space, and it's an empowerment opportunity that's being advertised and broadcast, it creates hope, right? That now something is happening for us in the Black community in the real estate space.
Right. So what, and so without mentioning names, because I don't want to get all these nasty emails tomorrow, but there are certain groups in America that the only way the dollar leaves their community is when it's time to pay capital gains tax or real estate tax or sales tax. Like the dollar stays within their community. It circulates multiple times. And I'm not here to be critical of that. I'm here to praise that. I'm saying we need to copy that. We need you need to spend your money with a Black or Hispanic lawyer, Black and Hispanic real estate broker, Black and Hispanic architect, Black and Hispanic plumber. You need to circulate that dollar. Oh, and before I get any emails about our 3 panelists all being white, listen, there are certain expertise in this country that Black people have not gotten into yet. And while I would love to use people that look like us, it is a challenge to find people at that level who, and if they do have those skills, they're working for big firms, and I can't afford them. But it's critical for us to spend money with people that look like us so that the dollar can stay in our community. Derek, you there?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored this evening. Derek Warner is one of the most successful commercial real estate lawyers in New York, very well known in the Black community. And I'm honored that we were able to get him while he's you're on your way home?
Yes, that's right.
Just leaving the office, huh?
Yep, that's what it takes.
That's what it takes. Listen, talk to me, Derek Warner. And Matthew, could you put Derek Warner's LinkedIn info in the chat with the others?
It's already in there.
Oh, it's in. Okay, very good. Derek, could you talk to me about the importance of having a good, team in terms of executing a deal, and why the real estate lawyer is so important, and the role that you play in helping us avoid unnecessary grief? Oh, and wait, one last thing. What makes Derek so high in terms of my scorecard is that Derek is experienced in New York. I can't speak for other parts of the country, but Derek, we have predators in New York that prey on Black and Hispanic communities with regard to ownership of real estate. And Derek knows all their tricks. And if you have a real estate problem where your family member has been exploited, Derek is the guy to call. He's not a civil rights lawyer, so you're gonna have to pay him, but he's worth every dollar. So Derek, talk to me about your thoughts.
So I mean, my role in a deal involving investors and a fund like this would be just to, when they have identified a property you want to acquire, I will help with the negotiation and the drafting and settlement of a contract, to getting into a contract, and then settlement of in terms of the actual transaction itself and the purchase and the closing. Just important to know the parties involved. You'll, if you're in the business long enough, you see certain names and certain people, even if we don't know the parties on the other side. I probably know their attorneys, and then you get a read of who you're dealing with, what they're trying to do. There's pitfalls that I become familiar with over the almost 20 years I've been involved in New York City real estate. So eyeballing when there's missing information, or there's information that doesn't fit. One thing that's fresh on my mind now is the tax abatement that comes along, but has added with it that the apartments need to be rent stabilized, and it's a tricky thing, and it's hidden because the general law says property has to have 6 units or more to be rent regulated, but there's an exception there if the property owner applies for this particular abatement, then the government will give them the abatement, but they have to utilize their apartments rent stabilized and have to give all their tenants rent stabilized leases. And it runs as long as the abatement runs. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't know to look for. That's it.
Right. And if you invest in the property, and then some legal aid lawyer comes along 2 years later after you bought the property, and the contract was signed 8 years ago, 5 years ago, before you even owned it, you assume those liabilities, and now your investment is out of whack because you weren't aware that what you thought was going to be free market rents are now going to be stabilized rents. So all those increases have to be clawed back, and you as the what's it's like tag, whoever is holding the bag is the one that has to pay that debt, correct?
Right. Your property drops in value significantly.
Right. And there are certain your refinancing with the bank is based on an appraised value. If the bank can come back, the bank come back to you and say, based on this new information, the value has gone down significantly, you're underwater. That might violate the confidence of the mortgage terms, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it can. Right.
So that's really why it's so important to have. That's why it's so important to have, with all due respect to those real estate lawyers that work out of their office, that corporate law, real estate, where everybody's polite and it's a gentleman's world. When you're investing in real estate in Black neighborhoods, you're dealing with predators, and you need the kind of lawyer who is a gunslinger. You don't need a lawyer that brings a knife to a gunfight, and Derek brings a machine gun. And so I've known Derek 20 years, so I speak from a great deal of respect for his work. And I definitely encourage anybody who's having real estate problems to hire him. But also, he's good when things go nice too. He knows how to smile, right? You can walk in a deal and be polite.
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you, Matthew, are there any questions for either Askari or Derek?
No, not yet.
Okay. So, Askari. Yeah. So, your team is overwhelmingly Black and Hispanic. You're getting capital from us, which our capital is 100% Black and Hispanic. As people are listening to this, how important? I know this is a silly question. How happy would you be if we were able to raise more money from Black and Hispanic investors to give you the opportunity to expand your footprint with regard to real estate in key states where there's a lot of economic growth that investors should be leveraging?
Thomas, I'd be ecstatic, right? But I'd be ecstatic more because we're providing opportunities for minorities to work. We're making impact in the communities. And when we make impact in the communities, that money stay within the communities. And if those money stay within the communities, right? We talk about generational wealth, right? You're creating a system where they come right back in to the BLM fund to really create that generational wealth. So we're just recirculating the money, right? So, and creating opportunities for other minorities, basically. So that's why I'll be ecstatic. It's about the purpose, it's about the empowerment and the opportunity that we can create and really make a positive impact over the next 2 years and beyond.
I want to reach out to our listeners. We're going to get ready to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but I want to reach out to our listeners that if you're interested in investing with us, send me an email at info@blmref.com, info@blmref.com, and or call me directly. And our phone number is wait, I don't want to use the public line. I mean, my private line. Oops. Let me use our phone number is on our website, and our website is blmref.com, blmref.com. What I want to say to people is, oh, and if you would like to join as a member of Black Lives Matter Real Estate Forum, we would love to have your membership, and we can talk about that also. But I want to get ready to wrap up. Matthew, are there any other more questions?
Yeah, we have one more question. It says, please expound on the advent of public-private partnerships and MOUs or CBAs. These don't allow you to scale your prospective deal more. Don't these allow you to scale your prospective deals even more? Question.
You know, without knowing the full details, I'm not a really big fan of government, working with government. I think a lot of these set-aside programs, you're right, they don't let you scale up. There's a great deal of control. A lot of times they're telling you who your plumber or your electrician or who your contractors are, and they don't look like us. What certain power centers in America are worried about is if the Black community came together and built their own economic power center where white people weren't involved. I mean, every other group, and I don't want to start naming groups because then I get into trouble. Every other group controls their community and the economics in their community. Only in the Black community does the government come in and say, you know, we're going to give you these opportunities, or you get friendly white people that want to come in and partner with you. And what that does, that prevents an independent Black economic base to be built. Now, don't get me wrong. If the government offers you vacant land at a discount price and they give you the financing, take it, build that expertise. But I'm focused on rallying the Black community to invest in the Black community and keep that wealth within the Black community. So I'm not a big fan of government programs. So I wouldn't be the best person to comment on that. You know, if you look at most other groups, they don't get a lot of government stuff. They actually start independently first, and then they go do the government stuff because it's easy. They don't do the government stuff first. Any other questions, Matthew? And I apologize if that didn't answer the question. It's just when I hear government, I tend to shut down.
There are no questions, but in terms of the audience, are there any last questions before we actually wrap up? You can just take 2 minutes to type it into the.
No, not 2 minutes. 2 minutes online is a long time. You can take 10 seconds to type in your question. Yeah.
I think we're
Thomas, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you turn money away?
Yes.
Which money do you turn away?
We've turned away white money. I've had
money?
We've turned away white money. Where white people have said to me, oh my God, I love what you're doing, Thomas. I think this is a great thing. How can I help you people? And what I do is I say, you know, the fund won't take your money, but let me put you in touch with some Black developers, some Hispanic developers that will take your money. So I'm just saying that I'm focused on building independent economic, political power. But if white people come to me and say, you know, we love what you're doing, I will introduce them to someone like yourself and say, hey, you know, go do a deal. I just don't want to have them in our mix, because anytime people put money into your thing, they want control and they want input. And the last thing I want to hear from people is listen, it's bad enough I hear from Black professionals, oh my God, Thomas, you're so Black. Why do you have to be so pro-Black? You know, and this is from Black professionals. The last thing I want to hear from white people is, you know, aren't we all just human beings? Aren't we all, you know, can we all get along or whatever? So I want to keep it, authentic. So I hope that answers your question. Matthew, any other questions?
No, there's no more questions. I'm going to put the information from LinkedIn into the chat box one last time. So if you need to take
now,
that.
my last comments to folk is this. Our plan is to raise $1 million, invest in 10 properties, $100,000 a piece. We're going to be announcing our third property. We're looking at a deal in Baltimore, and we look forward to investing $100,000 with a Black entrepreneur in Baltimore. We have not signed a joint venture agreement, so that may or may not happen, but our plan is to invest $100,000 in Baltimore for our third deal. Our fourth deal, we're already having discussions about investing another $100,000 in a fourth project. If you think you have a deal that we should be investing in, we would love to hear from you. Let me just inform you, real estate developers, we don't do, how can I say this politically correct? We don't do black faces in high places. And what I mean by black faces in high places, it means you come to me as a Black developer and you're like, oh, please, Thomas, here's my project, invest in it. And then I look at your plumber, your electrician, your architect, and they're all white. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're about giving Black lawyers, Black architects, Black Hispanic contractors. We want to give people that look like us contracts and economic opportunity so that we can reduce the crime rate in our community. We believe the more jobs we generate in our community, the less crime there will be in our community. Not more police. We can have less police if we create more jobs. And then we can take the money that we spend on police and putting it in affordable housing, healthcare, higher education. That's the route that I believe is why it's so important for us to build like every other racial group. Listen, in America, no one is better than Black people. Black people are the best at making every other racial group rich. I mean, it's like a science. Every other racial group gets wealthy off Black spending, except Black people. And so I apologize if I seem too Black for some people, but I believe that as someone who grew up, both my parents were drug addicts. I grew up in foster home and group homes. I grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, in the hood. I saw those that survived and thrived and got out of what was then the hood. It was those that had economic opportunity. And I seek to come back to my communities all over this nation and bring economic opportunity. We can use Reg A Plus to raise $75 million a year to invest that money in Black neighborhoods all across America. And we can ramp it up to $500 million, $1 billion. We have the money. We just need to learn to work together. And that's why we're building a private equity fund that has a reputation of protecting investors, delivering excellent returns, so that Black people know that their money invested with us will not only deliver a return, but create jobs for the community. And so, Matthew, if there's nothing else, no other questions, as the pastor says to the deacon board, all minds at peace? How are we doing, Matthew?
No questions.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Askari. I want to thank you, Derek. I want to thank the viewers. I see that we got Strong. We got Michael from Canada. Thank you. William, it's good to see you. Beatrice, thank you for your support. Jetty, let me tell you people, Jetty Newkirk, I love that woman. She comes out of Philadelphia. She's a lawyer, a real estate lawyer, and a family lawyer. Matthew, do me a favor, put Jetty Newkirk in the chat. If you're in Philadelphia, this woman knows where all the bodies are buried, all the political and economic bodies are buried in Philadelphia. Jetty helped us. Jetty helped us build our Philadelphia membership from 1 to 17 members. We have 119 members of Black Lives Matter Real Estate Forum. 30 are doctors. I'm sorry, 18 are lawyers, 17 are doctors. And in Philadelphia, 17, she took our membership from 1 member in Philadelphia, which was Jetty, to 17 members. And she's just a valuable asset. And I'm just so grateful that she's a part of our team. So Matthew, if there's nothing else, I want to thank everybody. Did you get that in the chat?
Twice.
Okay, Jetty Newkirk, you got it in, right?
Excuse me?
Did you put Jetty Newkirk's info in?
No, I did not.
So put her in the chat. I want people to be able to, if they're in Philly, they should reach out to her. She's like a young 70 or 80 something year old woman who is one of our most valuable members at Black Lives Matter Real Estate Forum. And I can't speak enough praise of her. And I get annoyed when people praise people when they're no longer with us. So I want to praise this woman because she's here with us now. She's a jewel to the Black community. She's an asset. She's done so much to help make our project successful. So Matthew, did you find her on LinkedIn? And Askari, any closing comments for you? Why now Matthew is finding that?
You know, I'm just proud to be a recipient of the BLM BREF Fund and really part of the purpose that you are trying to achieve. And I think one thing you got to stress is you have a good governance structure in-house. You had a good representation of your service providers today, but in-house, you got a good team that surrounds you. You have a governance structure, you have an investment committee, you have communication committee. So those of you who are listening, what Thomas has put together here is an opportunity for us to do something together. There's good structure, there's good policies, there's commitment, compliance related, being committed to that. But most of all, you want to create an opportunity for you as investors to really reap the benefit, not only personally, but also make impact in our community. So come one, come all, it's a great experience.
Thank you so much. And here's the crazy part to the people that are listening. The crazy part is, and I have nothing but respect for the lawyers and doctors that went and got graduate degrees and earned, just highly respectable credentials. But the crazy part is there are people who don't look like us, who don't have the education that many in our community have. I mean, Askari, you got an MBA and a CPA. But there are people who have high school education that own, hundreds and hundreds of apartments, and they don't look like us in the Black community, and they are wealthy, and they are hiring people like Askari with an MBA and a CPA. And we do not live in an education society. We live in a capitalist society. And, the last thing I'll say is people in America get paid to do 3 jobs. Only 3 jobs. Unless you have a trust fund, you get paid to do 3 jobs. You get paid to dig the hole, manage the hole, or you get paid because you own the hole. And there are people that don't look like us, that their communities work together, and they own hundreds and hundreds and thousands of apartments in Black communities, generating enormous amount of wealth for their people. And I'm telling you, we can do the same thing if we come together and work together. And I commit to run a fund with a team where we have transparency, integrity, accountability. Those are the bywords on our website. You will never have questions about where the money is. You will never read in the newspaper that we're being investigated because we went and spent the money on some fancy trip when we should have been protecting investor interests. And so I want to make that commitment to you. So I look forward to having many of you reach out to me, having one-on-one discussions about you coming and joining and investing with us. And I'm assuming, Matthew, that you put Jetty's information in the chat. You did that, correct?
Yes, I did. Everybody's
very good. Very good. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for listening. And Matthew, can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for this opportunity. I want to thank Askari again for participating. Matthew, I want to thank you. Are you able to become on camera? I don't even think you've been on camera once, have you? Show your face. There you go. Oh my God, you got a white shirt on. Why didn't you come on camera? Everybody, this is Matthew Scott. Matthew, do me a favor, put your LinkedIn in there too. You did that, right? You put yours? I can't hear you. Just put your LinkedIn in the chat. Do it quickly so I can end this Zoom. Did you put your LinkedIn in the chat?
I have to get it, Thomas.
All right, then hurry up. Derek, are you there?
Yes.
Derek, say like 15 seconds, the last words.
It's a bunch of professionals, a good bunch of individuals who care about creating wealth in the Black community. Fantastic opportunity to get in on it on the ground floor and be a part of the team that really that helps to launch this thing. And not only would you benefit from being involved with this, you also will establish real relationships that will last and help you in your careers overall. Take care.
Very good. Thank you, Derek. As I said, we have 119 members, 18 lawyers, 17 doctors, 4 CPAs, and I think like almost 40 people have MBAs. And our people are mostly finance, real estate, law, and medicine. What's interesting is our investment fund, the largest demographic is investors from New York and Texas. Very interesting. I don't know why. The largest group of investors that we have are from New York. I understand New York, but coming in number 2 is Texas. And Black doctors make up the largest percentage of our investors. And after Black doctors come Black lawyers. So we're very happy. Big shout out to my Black doctors. We're grateful for your investment capital. Today, we just had a Black lawyer today. She invested from Florida. She invested $10,000 into the fund, and we're so glad to have her investment. Anyway, Matthew, you ready to take off the recording when I say so?
Everybody's set.
All right. So I want to thank all my listeners for watching this video. If you seek more information, please visit us at blmref.com. blmref.com. My name is Thomas Lopez-Pierre. I'm the president and CEO of Black Lives Matter Real Estate Forum and the fund manager of BLM REF Fund I LLC. And I thank you for joining us this evening. And I look forward to working with you to build wealth and create jobs in the Black and Hispanic community through real estate investing. Thank you and good night.